Before we get into this video, I want to have a quick chat with you guys about something that I found out last week. Long story short, I was scrolling through my Facebook and came across a post from a girl I went to school with about a young Tottenham fan who at 10 years old found out she had Batten's disease. Now, that is an incurable brain disease which slowly takes away your cognitive functions. It takes away your ability to see, your ability to walk. You have seizures, and then eventually you will pass away. It is incurable. Like I say, in 2021, she was 10 years old when she was diagnosed with this disease. I made a TikTok video on it last week, which reached so many people. And I want to say thank you to those people, if you're watching this, for the support you gave. There's going to be more details in the link in the description, both to the Facebook page for the fundraising and to the GoFundMe as well. Please go over there. Take a moment of your time when you've watched this video to read up on Caitlin's story. She's a young girl. We were all a young Tottenham fan at one point. Well, maybe not all of you, but we were all young. We're all young. We all know someone young, whether it's siblings, whether it's, whether it's friends, whether it's our own children. For some people, we all know people are young. It is absolutely horrible. Please, please, please take 2 minutes of your time when you've watched this video to head over to the link in the description. Please read up on her story, donate where you can, and support this family through the horrible time that they're going through. From one Tottenham fan to another, please, that's all I ask for. Thank you very much. Enjoy the video. What's up, guys, and welcome back to this week and the final episode of this season of Two of Our Own. I'm joined by Harry, of course. Harry, how you doing? Calm down a bit now from the end of the season.
Yeah.
And we, on the topic of season reviews, we are joined by the king of season reviews himself, Dan, the creator of Yidvids, which anyone who follows my channel know how much I love his channel. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on, first and foremost.
Well, thank you for having me. How are you feeling? I'm feeling good. I'm feeling kind of a bit better that I've been out of football now for the last 10 days. I haven't really thought about it at all. So, yeah, it'd be good to actually talk about it again and actually review things with a clear mind.
It will be. And the first thing I will say on that, so when I very started this show the first time around, obviously I had it with a friend of mine called Ramon, and it finished after 6 seasons because he passed away, unfortunately. And one of the dream guests that we had on our list was yourself. So even though he's not here to see it, for me, it means a hell of a lot for you to take the time out to come on here. I know he absolutely loved your video. I'm going to try not to cry now. I know he absolutely loved your videos, and we'd sit and watch them sometimes and go, I missed this, Spurs. Where was this? So, yeah, it means a hell of a lot to me, and I know it would have meant a hell of a lot to him. So thank you so much for taking the time to come on, honestly.
No, it's not a problem at all. It's one of the reasons why I still make them kind of sporadically, is because I started when I was in university just sort of making videos for, like, trying to make my way as a video editor at the time. And sort of, what we now 14 years later, maybe. And the only reason why I still make them is because so many people leave such nice comments. So I really appreciate it.
It's lovely to be able to say that to you, man. Because so less about that then. Before I start bawling my eyes out, and let's talk about the season. And on the topic of Spurs fans not bawling their eyes out. Before we go on Spurs, thank fuck they didn't win the league. That's all I'm going to say. Thank fuck they didn't win a league. Harry works with a lot of Arsenal fans and lives near a lot of Arsenal fans.
Yeah, I live near Islington. I
live underneath one. He lives upstairs. And honestly, life would have been so intolerable. So thank God they didn't win the league. I'll start with you then, Dan. What was your thought when we hired Ange? Obviously, we went after so many managers, and there was the whole no to Gattuso and all that shit on Twitter. It was just nuts that summer. And it felt like, really, there was no planning at all whatsoever. For you, when we appointed Ange, how were you feeling? Were you feeling optimistic? Were you a little bit like, well, it's a tough shit, we've got to wait and see now? What was your first thought?
Quite the opposite. I think. I don't think I was a big fan of him before he came in. I thought, why are we hiring this geezer from Celtic? He's got no CV behind him, etc., etc. The trope that a few of us had, and I'm not ashamed of it. I think after 10 games, I sort of retracted what I'd said, obviously, because we started so well, and I think he's actually impressed me quite a bit since. But the initial feeling was, who's this geezer? Who's this Australian?
Who the fuck is this?
Yeah, exactly.
I know Harry yourself as well. That summer we were sitting there messaging back and forth. We thought this genuinely feels the same as when we appointed Nuno. It felt like there was no plan. It felt like there was no, this is our number one target. This is number two target. Like Arne Slot felt like the main option. But then
they went for Nagelsmann first, didn't they? And he said no.
And then they went for Onslaught, and he said no. And there's a lot of rumours about that. And some people are saying that Spurs wouldn't give him what he want. He said that he rejected Spurs. Spurs are saying we never got to the point where there was an option to reject. For you, obviously I know we've had this conversation before, but for the people that didn't see the channel at the start of the season, how were you thinking initially when we appointed Ange? Because I didn't have a clue who he was when we hired him.
I mean, I think the clues were sort of there. As someone who's in the YouTube community, there were people telling me before that they were going to get Ange because of Scott Munn. So there's a connection there. So it kind of felt inevitable in the end because people around me telling me that it was going to happen. But in terms of like his number on the list, he was probably third or fourth choice, and I think he even admitted it himself. And so when you look at it that way, you're thinking like what the expectations are. Well, I did expect us to play attacking football because the club alluded to the fact that we played defensive football, but as in
we play very conservative and passive football under
as in
previous
league or whoever it was implied that we were going to change back to the Spurs quote unquote way. So kind of expecting an attacking manager. So that's what I expected from him already. But I guess we'll talk about him over the season. But yeah, that's my initial thoughts. I thought we'd just play attacking football. That's what it was, really.
For me, I was very much at one point. It got to the point where at this point, I just take anyone. Can we have somebody in the dugout, please? Because at one point, it genuinely felt like deja vu of the season. Got rid of Jose. Plan. No one's going to get it. And I don't know. I know we mentioned it initially. At the very beginning of the summer, we were both worried that Ryan Mason was going to get it on a permanent. And we were both sitting there thinking, just please, no. And I know you've got your conspiracy theories about him being the snake in the staff and stuff, Harry. But I was just sitting there and I just couldn't. We knew he wasn't ready for it. And I just didn't want it to be that Spurs gave it to him because they couldn't be bothered to pay for anybody else. With Nagelsmann, it was a bit of a weird one because...
But they chased him before as well, didn't they?
I think so. Yeah,
before,
and the way he fell out with the Bayern board, it was just very dramatic. It was very quick, and there was always a cause for concern there. I did think we might have ended up with Thomas Tuchel being a Spurs fan growing up. I thought that might have been where Levy took it, and he did well at Chelsea. To be fair, his talent ID is crap, but other than that, in actual playing with what he had, he did all right. For me now, I'm glad we got someone of his personality and his character because I think a lot of Spurs fans have bought into him as a person, taking out the tactics, taking out the style of play. Probably. Yeah, you've got your reservations. But I think for me, I very quickly bought into him and went, this is a man who wants to become one of us. He wants to know what it takes to become one of us. For you, Dan, did you feel very quickly, even taking out the results, did you feel very quickly that he was buying into the club and the identity and what we believe Spurs is as fans? Did you think he bought into that very quickly and almost felt like a fan very quickly?
Do you know what? No, I don't think that. I don't think that because I think he is just who he is. I think it doesn't matter if he went to Tottenham, if he went to Chelsea, wherever he went. I think he is just who the guy he is. I think what impressed me so early on was that, you get that sort of impression of someone before they arrive and you look at their CV and it's Celtic, Yokohama Warriors or wherever it is in Japan and, Melbourne, Old Coast FC or whatever. And you sort of think, is this guy going to have the balls to stand up to some of these, some of the players? Is he going to gain the respect of some of those players? And I think quite quickly on, after maybe 2 or 3 weeks of the actual season, I sort of thought, I can see why Spurs really went for him because there was something about him that is very passionate and very real and very honest. And he has got a big drive. Whether or not I agree with everything he does, I think the answer is probably no, I don't. But when
Harry will love you for saying that.
We can get into that later. I think let's get past the first 10 games first, then talk but whether or not I agree with everything he does, I feel like he believes everything he does. Does that make sense? So I can see that players can probably buy into that. So yeah, I saw straight away that he was better than I sort of gave him credit for right at the start.
And for you, Harry, apart from obviously the results, because I know you've got your opinion on certain things about the way we played and certain almost naiveties in certain situations, but for you as a character, as a person, as an individual, did you look at someone and go, actually, do you know what? It's nice to have a personality representing our football club rather than with Conte, it felt like very much he did things almost dramatically to make a point, and then on his way out, he just slammed everything on his way out because he knew he was going. You're not doing anything for the fans. You're not doing anything for the club. You're saying you're too penneth on your way out. It's like screaming that you hate your mother-in-law as you're going through a divorce, as you're walking out the door. Like, it means
That's a
nothing
great
now.
analogy, actually. I quite
Say
like
it when
that.
it means something. Do you know what I mean? And I think we had that we didn't really have it with Jose. I think Jose went very quietly. He still makes the comments every now and again and still praises the way the club are run, but has never been a fan of Levy, because I think Levy made him
I don't know if
false
you've heard this,
promises.
but Jose said Spurs is like one, if not the only club he doesn't really have an affinity towards.
But then if you hear his reasons for that, there were no fans in the stadium, and I think his time might have been different had that been the case.
And he's still quite bitter about being sacked before the final.
Yeah, which I would be as well.
Well, I would be as well. So,
but for you, did it feel like Ange as a person was almost like a polar opposite to the characters we'd had for the 2 years, probably since post-Poch, rather?
I think because I compared him more to, I know a lot of people compare him to Poch. I saw him more as like a Joel type than a Poch type personally, because Joel came in sort of a similar situation where the club was, albeit he came after Santini. No one really knew who he was, and then he was kind of turned us into like, what's the word? Joel put us on the map, but Ange just kind of did the same thing, I guess, not in the same way, but he kind of had to bring. People argue he brought the club back together or something like that. I don't know if I agree with that totally in that sort of phrase, but in the sense that people who did well were a mess, and we had all these managers and it didn't work, so we had to go back to type. But as a person, I'm sure he's a nice guy, and he's Greek like me, so there's that as well. But I think it's more for me when it comes to managers. And people might hate me for saying this, but I don't think a lot of managers nowadays have a lot of personality. The Jose types, the Conte types, and obviously look back to Sir Alex Ferguson, even Arsene Wenger to a degree, and Benitez. And I look back at those kind of managers back in the day. There was more like rivalry between managers. Nowadays, it's just like, they might have a rivalry with some sort of like Klopp and Pep, but it's more like respectful.
Yeah.
Like Ange comes across as a very respectful person. Like he respects other people and all that sort of thing. So he's like a good person. I don't know if that's got a way to summarize it. but I'm not really kind of person where but I love Harry Redknapp, but that's because I kind of like his personality more. He's just more just honest, but like in a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's the delivery. I think that's the difference. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't get me wrong. I think when I watched Ange's team talk for Australia before they won the Asian Cup, I think it was. And if you hear him talking that, the way he kind of makes it clear, yes, you've got to this moment. Yes, you should be incredibly proud of the journey, but the journey is just a journey if you don't go and take that final step. And I think for us, and me and Harry have said it so many times about Spurs and getting over the line, especially in domestic competitions, and obviously we've got the Europa League next season now, which we haven't taken seriously for God knows how long. I think Ange will be going into those competitions this season, knows a lot more about the club, knows a lot more about the squad, knows what it's going to take to get it that final level. I mean, you look at Man United and Man City in the FA Cup, same FA Cup final as last year, almost look like two completely different teams 12 months on. And I think he will see that there is an opportunity there. You look at Chelsea getting to the League Cup final, who were poor during that period of the season. I think he will look at that as an opportunity to go, we are better than those teams. We have been better than those teams. I know what I need to do to get it to that point now. And I think we will see us next season take those competitions seriously. And he will go into it with a similar mindset of, you can make it all the way to the final, but ultimately you will only ever get to sit there and look back at your scrapbook for the journey. Oh, the journey was great. The plane ride was great. The train ride was great. But actually, you don't get to enjoy the final destination if you don't have a pair of balls and go out on the pitch and play like you got a pair of balls. And I think I'm so excited for next season, because I think as long as we have a good summer, not good by the fan standard, but good by what he wants, then I think we'll go that extra mile next season.
I think, like with the cup thing, the last cup we won was the Carabao Cup, right? And Spurs have always been known as a cup side, especially when I speak to my dad, he goes, well, we used to win FA Cup this many times. UEFA Cup, he was at the Anderlecht final, ironically, and the semi-final, whatever. And obviously, if you look back up in our lifetimes, because I think I can make a blanket statement that we all saw this, when we beat Arsenal 5-1 in 08, that wouldn't have meant much if we went to the final and we lost the final to Chelsea. I don't think people look back and think, oh, well, we beat Arsenal 5-1 in the semi-final. It's all good. I don't think people will talk about it that much anymore.
Something on that is that we beat Chelsea in 2001 in the Carling Cup semi-final, I think.
Yeah, 5-1. I was at the game, actually.
Yeah, and then we lost in the final. Was it to Blackburn, I think, or Leicester?
Yeah. You're right. You're right. Yeah.
My point being is that 5-1 against Chelsea doesn't, and that was the first time we've beaten Chelsea in years, and that doesn't get talked about anywhere near as much as the 5-1 against Arsenal. I think just for the reason you were talking about. So yeah.
Do you think, for you, Dan, obviously me and Harry have spoken at length about the Fulham loss in the League Cup earlier in the season, and I still stand by my point that he was trying to work out which players were reliable as squad players and which players weren't. And that game showed a lot about the character of certain individuals. A large proportion of those individuals will not be at Tottenham for the start of next season. Do you think this year, do you see us making it to a cup final with domestic or potentially the Europa League? Do you think when it comes to prioritising those things, do you think he personally will put as much priority on those as Levy wants to put him on regaining Champions League again?
I see a similar sort of situation to what Pochettino did. Unfortunately, I think that the Europa League. I think the Europa League, the Europe and the league will be the serious things for him, and I think it'll be the same as what Poch did, unless we sign a lot of players. Because I mean, if you go far away in the Europa League, what is it, like 60-game season?
Yeah, it's a long season.
I think the thing that pissed me off so much about that Fulham game is that this was our one season to really have a go at those two cups. There was no need to rest so many players. I'm going really back here, but that's what pissed me off. I think it's the one season without Europe we haven't had in God knows how long. And it was the one opportunity we had to just play the best team the whole way throughout. And he showed he switched 10 players, and one of them was Sanchez, who we sold 2 days later. It was that was a big blip for me actually in Postecoglou.
I think for me the solution, is next season. This is my take on it. You know how Benitez used to tinker all the time, right, with his local sides. I think Ange needs to learn to make like 3 or 4 changes here and there. So, for example, we have because I know a lot of people say we should play Mikey Moore and players like that a lot more in the cups than next season. For example, we're playing Portsmouth at home in the cup. I'm just talking theoretically here. So you could play like a mixed side of, say, like Mikey Moore with like a Richarlison or a Son and a Kulusevski as a 3, and then play like Donnelly with, Sarr and whoever the other player we buy is. And then obviously in the back line, you may want to put like one of the youngsters or something as a fullback, along with like 2 or 3 of the first teamers. Because I think the issue the youngsters have, and I don't know what podcast I was on, we were talking about this, is that they'll get thrown into these sides where you have like the second team plus themselves. Yeah. And it's like, well, how are they going to
carry the way certain stars in the first team are expected to?
How are they going to, learn the first team and actually get like a proper game and proper supply? For example, if Madison's not playing, if you're just playing, someone else in there or whatever.
This is the one thing I do like about the new Europa League format, as someone who's played it to death on Football Manager, is the and it might not work out in practice like this, by the way. We're experiencing it for the first time, but being a higher seeded team means we're going to play a couple of away games and a couple of home games against lower quality, outside at the edge of Europe level opposition. We might be playing a team from Norway, we might be playing a team from Sweden. I think that gives an opportunity for someone like Niall John, who I think had a fantastic season last season, to come into that midfield, be supported by the mature players, by the Basuma, by the Sarr. I know he's age-wise, he's not necessarily mature, but the way he plays, the way he holds himself, the way he conducts himself there'll be such an opportunity, like Harry says, to make 3 or 4 changes. I actually think the first 8 games of the Europa League, maybe probably 6 of those 8 games, I think are going to be a mixed 11. And I think it's only when it comes to the later stages that we're then going to have to pick. We're playing Chelsea midweek, or we're playing Chelsea on Sunday, and Thursday night we're playing, I don't know who's in the Europa League. Leipzig away, for example, they might be in the Champions League, but I don't know, Leipzig or a team of that kind of quality, and you think, actually, we have to have a bit of a balance. Do you go kind of 50-50 in both? Do you go all in one? Do you go all in the other? And I'm excited to see how his man management comes in those moments, and I think we'll learn a lot more about him as a manager, about how he rotates when his squad is a little bit closer to where he wants it to be, and he's got Europe to contend with. Because my one concern I did have with him was his European record with Celtic was not very good.
It's really bad.
And I worry a little bit. Was that down to just a lack of quality? Was it down to the lack of depth? Obviously, in Scotland, especially even as a team like Celtic, you've got players that are good, okay squad players for the SPL, but they're not going to be good rotation players for Europe. Is that a thing? You know, if we're bringing in a new midfielder and we're bringing Basuma off the bench, that's a lot better quality than what Celtic would be bringing off the bench. So maybe maybe I'm reading into it too much. Maybe I'm not, but I think we're going to learn a lot more about who he is as a person and as a manager next season, being in that extra competition. Mm-hmm. How are you feeling ahead of the transfer window, Dan? How are you feeling with that?
I don't know really. I think the last 2 seasons or 2 or 3 years, I've started to kind of trust them a bit more. I don't think they do the things that I want them to do all the time, and 100% definitely don't. But I feel like recently with Paratici in the mix, I think we have signed some pretty decent players over the last couple of years. There's probably been more hits than misses, I think. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, I would say years? So, yeah, since Paratici.
I think Kill or, a couple of players haven't been great, but
Emerson.
I think Emerson, yeah. He was like 3.5 years, but yeah, I'm trying to kind of exclude him.
It was Paratici, wasn't it?
I think it probably was.
It was right at the beginning of his period.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm just sort of relaxed about it. Really, I wasn't a big fan of signing Werner on loan, but I think it's kind of a wait and see thing for me. I don't want to get too jumped up and angry now. Before
you're just saying music to Harry's ears at this point, honestly. For me, I think you make a great point about Paratici in the sense of, like, you look at someone like Pape Sarr, we all looked at him and thought he's too skinny, he's not going to be strong enough on the ball, he's only played in the second division of France. And you look at him now, he was making runs to the back post against Man United at the start of the season, he was bodying players, he was drifting through players, and we're sitting there looking at him going, if you watched a player in that game and someone said, how much are you going to pay for him? You're looking at 50, 60 million. You know, Paratici got him for peanuts. So maybe this is where me and Harry said this it must have been about 6 years ago. And we said there are times where Levy does spend money, but he buys crap because the recruitment isn't good enough. He needs to hold his hands up and go, actually, this bit I do need a little bit of help with. Yeah. And I think since he's done that, I don't know much about Lage. I don't know what his scouting record is like. It's clear by players that we're linked to that Paratici is still very much Daniel Levy's number one contact on his phone.
He's still there because there's even pictures of him.
It's a consultant now, isn't it?
Right?
It's a consultant now. Yeah. So he's still basically operating for those guys who've ever seen Suits, it's like when Mike got out of prison, still hadn't become a lawyer yet, and was doing the same thing but with a different title. That's basically what Fabio Paratici is doing at the moment. That's a great reference. I love my metaphors. I think that's Levy's almost handed over that part. He's gone, you find me the players you want, bring them to me, convince me to how much of an impact they're going to make, and if I think that impact is going to be made, I will buy them. For you, Harry, how you? I already know because some of your tweets the other day made me want to bleach my eyes. But anyway, God, how are you feeling ahead of the transfer window? Be honest. Don't sit there and.
All right. If you want to be honest and upset half the people watching this, that's fine. but like after the Werner signing, I've got like no hope. But I just think. I just think that
I've got like red cider there and I'm wearing a white shirt. Please don't make me stay
okay.
a lovely shirt.
I think if they didn't sign Werner, I'd be more on board with this whole project or whatever people want to process. Because to me, I don't see any positives in signing Werner, even on loan for a year. And I alluded to this on Harry's podcast, by the way, Harry's last podcast, like yesterday, saying that if he was, say, 4 years younger, and he was 25 or 24, 25, because I think he's 28 now. He'll be 29 next March. I'd be like, fair enough. We can give him another season because he's still got that room to get better. But the guy is almost 29. And I think they probably earmarked him more than likely as the backup, quote unquote, for Son. And like I alluded to just now, he's not going to get any better. So when Son goes in 2 years, hopefully Werner's not going to still be here, but it's Tottenham, so who knows. But if they're really planning on, say, he has a decent year for them, their own standards, and gives them a 3-year contract or something, then we're going to be in even more trouble.
Problems.
Yeah. Because what I'm saying is, if he was, say, we signed a younger player, I would have accepted Hudson-Odoi. I'm not even a fan of him. But if we signed him first, I'd be like, okay, it's not the transfer policy I agree with, but at least this guy has a possibility to get better. Like there's a possibility. But Werner is just like he's hit. I think he's not going to get any better. In fact, him and Son as a combination will probably get worse just because of their age and the fact they rely on pace. And it just doesn't even seem like a club sign. It doesn't even seem like I don't even know what it is. And
I've got
I don't even know what it is. And if
this.
Ange said yes to this, then I'm just like,
Yeah.
So I've got two counterpoints to this. I've got two counterpoints to this. So at the moment, our supposed backup on the left wing is Manuel Solomon. I don't even know if he still exists, or Brian Hill, right? Both of which I will be very, very surprised if they are at the club come the start of the season. Let's say you generate 10 million for each, right? Which is, I think, is about the ballpark.
It's about right. It's probably about right.
So I would be more concerned if we signed Werner permanently than if we got him on loan again. I said this to, there's an old guy who comes into work every Sunday. He must be like 70 odd, and he's a Spurs fan. And we were talking about Bill Nick a few weeks ago and whatever. It was lovely. And he was saying to me the other day, he was like, his logic with Werner is this. People are saying bring Mickey Moore in. We've seen what it does to young players when Spurs just throw them in as depth. It ruins players. And I would much rather have Werner as a backup for one more year, loan Mickey Moore to a championship club, an ambitious, progressive style championship club, him get 35 games under his belt, come back twice the player he is now, to then go as the backup, to then go as the starter to replace Son. I think that's a natural progression for him.
Is he a striker or is he a winger? I thought he's a striker.
He's a bit more of a winger, I thought.
He's a striker.
Plays on the left, didn't he?
Yeah, I thought he played on the left as well. So in my mind, the way I looked at it is give him a year and then Werner goes at the end of his loan and we don't sign him permanently. Mickey Moore becomes the backup, starts playing every other game, and then he goes in to replace Son. And that's a natural progression then. I feel like Spurs have a habit, especially with young players, this is going to be the best thing since sliced bread. Look at
that's true.
Spurs fans that were begging Jose to play Troy Parrott.
Yeah, I remember what happened.
It's 3 years later, and now he's hitting form now. And Troy Parrott's only 22. I thought he was 20, 25, 26. Feels like he's been around since donkeys. You know, so I look at that and think now, right, after the season he's just had 17 goals, he was really confident, really composed on the ball. Now I'd bring him into the team. Mickey Moore's what, 17, 18?
16,
I just think, well, there you go then, even more so. So people are talking about bringing a 16-year-old into a starting 11 for a team that want to comfortably get Champions League football and make it to the Europa League final next year. I don't understand why nobody else has thought that that's not a good idea.
No. I didn't say it's a good idea. I'm just saying I would be more on board with them saying like a 23, 24-year-old, even though,
but then
as you know, I'm not even a big fan of the transfer policy in itself and buying young for potential. Yeah. But at least there will be potential for him to get better. I just don't think Werner's going to get better. But we'll see if he doesn't. If they don't sign permanently after the end of this loan, then it maybe it does make sense.
Do you know what I mean?
But if we extend it again or something, I'm just like. I don't even know that point, but it just worries me because you guys, a lot of people allude to the fact he's depth, right? But he's going to play a lot more games, in my opinion, than you guys think, because there'll be games where he might even move Son to the middle, or we've got Europa, which is at least 8 games, like you alluded to, and you've got obviously the cup games. And obviously, Son's not going to play every game, as we know. He's 32.
Do you not think Werner's of a good enough standard that if we're going away to Norway or we're going away to Sweden or Denmark and playing a team there, that blistering pace, Werner got himself into some great positions last season. And don't get me wrong, he got some fantastic assists, and he could have got more if Brendan Johnson finished, and Brendan Johnson would have got more if Werner could finish. I think a little bit of Werner's form was coming halfway through the season. I think a little bit of Werner's form was. I think he was injured a little bit when he first started playing.
It was only near the end he got injured.
I thought he had a little bit of a knock when he very first came in, but because Son had gone to South Korea, we had to play him. Mm-hmm. That's why he only played like 40 minutes or something in the first game. And then from that point onwards, he's looked more and more consistent. I feel like this is one of those. What would he be like with a full preseason? What would he be like with a more stable squad? What would he be like a year into playing that style of football? I don't know how Leipzig played. I know how they played under Nagelsmann, but I don't know how they play now.
But the thing is, David, is that he's also himself converted to a left winger because also he used to be a striker, which means I think he himself knows that he's not going to be as prolific as before, unfortunately. But I think apart from the fact Werner Johnson has one of the highest biggest chances in the league, by the way. I don't know. I think Johnson's first and Werner second, which is not good. But this is such an attack-heavy system, right? So your attackers need to be getting 15. I'd argue the wingers in the league to get 15 goals each, and the striker needs to get like 20, 25, let's say, if you're going to be like the champions. So are you going to get 15 Premier League goals out of Werner? I don't think so.
Well, if you want 15 Premier League goals out of him, you need to create enough chances for about 30.
But I'm saying he plays on the left wing now. But
I get Dan's point. But then I would say, though, if you look at the goals that Werner did score, they were almost a tap in at the back post when the ball was played across the box. Do you not think when the
and he missed that one at Newcastle though, which I don't know how he played that one.
But do you think that when the attack's more coordinated, more consistent, and we're creating chances like that every couple of minutes, do you not think he will naturally get that amount of goals in all competitions? Because for me, I think if he gets 10 goals in the league and 10 goals across all other competitions, I think that's a good season for Werner as rotation, personally.
Yeah, but I don't see him getting that numbers.
I think he will. I think he will, personally.
Then my only problem with it is that if you look at his stats over the past 4 years since Chelsea signed him, this is what he proved. What he gave us this year in terms of finishing is who he is. This isn't like he missed a few good chances. I think he just is this sort of player who just can't finish. It's such a long time now. It's consistent that I think if you're going to play someone in that position, yeah, he does some of the good things well, like the running and the pressing and all that sort of stuff. But there's better options out there. I'm sorry. I know you said about Hudson-Odoi earlier that.
I'm not saying I would want to. I'm just saying he's a better option.
Well, but the thing is, I mean, I don't want to turn into a bit of a stats guy here, but like if you look at Hudson-Odoi's input compared to Werner's in terms of his finishing, in terms of his crossing, it's far, far superior. He might not be quite as quick, and there's probably different issues there that probably wouldn't work. But for me, I'd have got rid of Werner and brought him in instantly.
My other counterpoint to this, then the last one on the Werner situation. My other counterpoint to this would be: do you not think the reason why we've got him on a loan is because we're planning on spending bigger in other positions that Ange believes are a bigger priority?
Well, if we haven't spent big, Ange even has said we're going to spend.
No, I'm not talking like 60, 70 million pounds big, but what I'm saying is, let's say Levy went, you can have 30 million for a striker and 10 million for a backup winger, and Ange has gone, well, can I get Werner on loan and 50 million for a striker, and Levy's gone, okay then. Do you think that's a possibility? The look on either of your faces.
I don't know.
Let me jump in on that. So I don't think he is a cheap option at all because he's on £165,000 a week, 180 grand. So I think he's got an annual salary of about 8.5 million. I think we paid a loan fee of probably a couple of million at least, maybe 3 million. So you're looking at £11 million outlay for 1 year extra on a striker that you hold no value in because we can't sell him next year when we're bored of him because he's not our player. He's not actually a cheap option for me, in my opinion. He's not a 21-year-old kid who's on 50 grand a week and we're getting him in. Just
when you put it like that, I'm not looked at it like that. When you put it like that, there's just cannot at any point. I
understand what you're saying. It's a way of getting a player in now without a big upfront spend. I get that. Maybe the cash flow is not there right this second. I have no idea. But in terms of, I don't think he is a cheap option. I think that's probably a bit overstated. I think not by you, but by narrative.
In general,
No, because I'm with you, Dan, in the sense that he's not going to be cheap because of his wages. Yeah. It's going to cost a fortune.
He'd be our second highest.
Are we paying 100% of his wages?
Yes. Yeah.
160, 70 grand a week or something.
Yeah, plus a loan.
I wouldn't even do that. You could offer me Mbappe.
And Ndombele's on higher than him.
Well, let's not even talk. I forget he even plays for the club. Why do you do this, Harry? Every time we record, you remind me that he's employed by the club.
Well, he doesn't work for McDonald's yet, so I mean.
You're talking about the back-to-back champion here, by the way. He won the.
He has actually won trophies, hasn't he?
Yeah, and
do you know how just depressing? We're just so cursed. It's unreal. It's so stupid. Right. Let me not even go on a rant about other people leaving and winning trophies. We'll be here for 2 hours. Right, I'm going to hit you guys with some quick fire end of season questions, and then we'll talk about next season briefly. So, Harry, player of the season for you?
Mickey van der Ven.
Dan?
Yep, same. Van der Ven, 100%.
I'm going to go slightly controversial. You wouldn't be wrong saying Mickey van der Ven in the slightest. In fact, I don't think you'd be wrong in saying any of our defenders, if I'm honest. But for me, the reason why I'm going to give it to Vicario, I think coming in as a goalkeeper to a completely new club, a new country, we haven't had a goalkeeper, I think, since 2006, who's not made a mistake leading to a goal in an entire season. He has been unreal. He's led by example. I haven't been this confident in a goalkeeper for a long time. I think, and I got to meet his parents, and they were lovely.
Yeah, I remember you sent me the picture. Yeah.
So I think for me, he's my first choice. But I think you could literally give it to any of the back line or goalkeeper, and I think you'd have a valid argument. I think that's fair to say.
I want to say though, I hope you don't answer this question because I want to say something. I think Porro, in my opinion, is our most improved player.
Yeah.
From last season.
I haven't actually got that on my list, so
Oh, okay.
that's fine. Yeah,
Okay, good. Because I was worried he's going to ask that question.
I think defensively, especially, the way he uses his body is completely different to the way he did last season. Last season, it almost felt like he went up one-on-one with a attacker. Now I feel like he uses his body to protect the ball a lot more than he did last year, and the amount of counter attacks we get from that because he hasn't lost the ball in silly areas like he did last year. It's like having a complete different player. Under the age of 25, young player of the season, Dan.
Well, Van der Ven, no?
Oh, you can't have him for both. You can't have him for both. That's cheating. That's cheating.
Good point. Actually, I don't know.
I think it's an easy one, actually.
Do you think so? Well, you go. Maybe I'm missing something.
Papa Sarr.
Oh, Papa Sarr, yeah.
That's going to be my argument. I think, even though I think towards the end of the season, I think he fell off a little bit. I think he's just exhaustion. He's played
too much. He played the AFCON as well. Yeah.
Like the style we play, he's gone from he played like 25 minutes under Conte, if you're lucky. And then he's not played consistent top flight football. To come into the Premier League and play the amount of minutes he's played and still drop consistent 7, 8 out of 10 performances week in, week out. It's one of those things. Go back to what you said, Dan, about Parachiti and kind of we kind of need to trust the club a little bit more because of him. Sarr is that prime example. What did we pay? Like 12 million or something?
Yeah,
10 million. There you go. All of us said, who is this? What? He's too skinny. He's too thin. He's not going to cope. We don't know who he is. He's only played League Two. And let's be realistic, we've all swallowed our pride and gone, sorry, might have got that one wrong.
Especially me at the start of the season, I was like, why is he putting
what's Ange doing starting him already? He didn't play last year. And I think you messaged me after the Man United game and went, what a player we genuinely have on our hands.
Yeah.
He was unreal.
Shout out to
Harry.
Udogie as well. I think has been pretty good.
Unreal. I think unreal. I like the way, I think he's another player who's developed throughout the season as well. The way he acts once he moves into midfield now is completely different to how he did at the start of the season. I think he's a lot more confident in his decision makings. And you look at when he scored the goal, it might have been against Villa, I can't remember who it was against, where the ball was played across 6-yard box and he made a last minute run in and tapped it in. You could see almost the relief on his face. I think he's one of those players that when we talk about players that get Tottenham and understand the club and understand the fans, I think he's one of those players that epitomises that. He leaves everything on the field when he goes out and plays. And I'm gutted he's injured, but I'm also kind of not, because then it doesn't risk him getting a bigger injury with Italy. We can bring him back in, bring him back through pre-season.
Is he not going to the Euros? Is he that injured? I don't know.
He's injured. He's out for 3 months, I think. So he'll be out until the start of the season. Oh. Harry, rating for Ange out of 10 for the season.
Trying to think what I wrote online because I have to say something true to my word. I think I said 6 or 7, but I can't remember which one it was.
Dan, for you?
Can I preface it by saying...
do I go rogue or do I give my honest opinion?
Go rogue.
Honestly.
No, so I think my honest opinion is, I think in the circumstances, losing Kane, which obviously is a big thing that we haven't spoken about yet, but because we lost Kane, I think I'll give him a 6.5. But I think apart from that, like, he's done really well to steady the ship, etc., and I think he's done well in the main. But the last 28 games of the season for me have not been great, and I think I'm kind of getting on a bit of a downward trend here. But I kind of feel like the trend of the performances kind of peaked in November and has been slowly going downhill pretty much ever since. So I'm worried for next season. But because of Kane, because of the turmoil around the club, 6.5.
I think I'm going to go. It feels like it didn't come down with me here. I think I'm going to go with a 7. I think, like you say, the circumstances around Kane, and it's not like Kane went on day one when Ange's in. The 40 hours or 24 hours before the start of the season.
I think he said he knew he was going, though.
So when he came in, he said he knew he was going. But if you know he's going and you get a deal wrapped up, I think Bayern completely took the piss with us. And I think Levy actually, small bit of credit I'm going to give to him, I think Levy wanted it to be done and over. and he kept saying to Bayern, "This is the figure, bid it," and he's gone, bid it, and he's gone, bid it, he's gone, and Bayern just kept undercutting and kept undercutting and kept, and it was so disrespectful, I think, to Kane as well as the club, because Kane knows his value, he knows what he's worth. That's why he didn't kick off a fuss when City wouldn't bid what was more than reasonable for him, because he knows that he's that value of a player. And he's proven that this season. Bayern have been awful. He's been feeding on scraps all season, and yet he's gone and broken every record you fucking can.
Is it 38 and 36 or 36?
It's just his numbers are ridiculous, and he knows his value. And I think Bayern just was so disrespectful in that process. And I think also we all knew that there were a lot of players, when we knew Ange's style and we knew his blueprint, we all knew there were a lot of players that just were not going to fit. And you know, he's actually used Emerson at centre-back, and credit to Emerson, to be fair, because for the majority of the time he's at centre-back, he was brilliant. He's had to play right-back, he's had to move into midfield, and Emerson knows he's not that kind of player, which is why I think he's happy to leave, and he's not going to sit there, you know, dragging his heels like certain players we've had in the past.
Eric Dyer.
There you go, that came with two. Do you want to throw a name in there as well, Harry? The players that have dragged their name and not left when they know they should have done? Who did you say?
Huh?
No, Dan. Who did you say?
I shouted in Ndombele.
Oh, there you go.
Sorry.
There you go. So, do you know what I mean? And I think it shows his character. But I think also, if you look at that and you look at what Ange's had to work with, I think there are so many things you can sit and look at. And there are things that leave a bad taste in your mouth. The Chelsea result, the Fulham result in the Carabao Cup, the loss to Arsenal, the manner in which we lost that game as well. But I think, like you say, the circumstances, the transitional period, but I do think it has to be, I'm not even saying we have to score 4 goals a game, but it just has to be more consistent going into next season. Dan, favourite player this season?
Probably Van der Ven again. I think there's not many players you watch for the first couple of games and go, this guy's good. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think I've probably done that before on a couple and been stung. I'm sure. I think a lot of people say Mido. I think he came in and scored 2 goals.
Mido.
Yeah, stuff like that. But I think for the first time I watched him, I think it was in that Man United game, the second game of the season, I went, boy, this guy looks like a player, and he's been absolutely that.
He's been unreal.
He's been incredible, yeah. But I like most of the team now. I think most of the players we've got are good. Romero's been excellent. Like I say, Udogie, Vicario.
It's a very likeable squad, isn't it? There's not very many characters you look at that and you think, I'm not really sure on you. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely, and I think, but he especially, I think, has been for me the real shining light of this season.
Harry, your favourite player this season? I was trying to think something rogue now.
yeah, because he's at Van der Ven, so I'm like, I don't know, must pick something different.
Werner.
Obviously.
Harry won't shut up for the next 2 hours. No, go
on. I'm going to say Porro, actually.
Okay.
I just think he's got us out of a lot of holes, actually, this season.
That goal he scored against Burnley, my God. Like, he was on Twitter within 10 minutes of that game finishing. He was so happy he scored, bless him. It was amazing. I think for me, people make me sound like I'm going to sound like a Van der Ven hater. I absolutely love Van der Ven, but for me, I'm going to say Romero, just purely because I feel like he's just become a bit of a cult hero. We've finally seen that Argentinian blood that we all know he had. Like, I don't know, it felt like he was very shy and timid under Conte. I feel like he's just grown out of his shell so much this season and grown into a mature and a leader in that back line. And when he scored, I mean, when he had the concussion, was it against Brentford? And he was so adamant he was not going off. And I watched the game with my stepdad, and he said to me, this feels like a different Romero already. And I feel like for the whole season, even when he got sent off against Chelsea, his performances beyond that point have just reflected someone who's grown and grown and grown. And as Spurs fans, we all love someone who will just go out and leave everything on the pitch. And I think he epitomises that.
I think the captaincy kind of helped him mature.
I think so. We said that at the start of the season, didn't we? That we think Ange's giving it to him to bring those leadership qualities out of him. And I think it definitely has. Have you seen the clips? Have you seen the clips where he's gives some of the young players their awards for like their debut, first ball or whatever? Honestly, you can see the big smile on his face. He loves it. Dan, best moment of the season?
Ooh,
not Arsenal losing the league. Other than that, best moment of the season. We can't. We've got to squash the tin pot rumours for now.
When Son missed the chance.
Son missing the chance, yeah. No, I think, do you know what? This is going to be a crazy fucking moment this season, and it's going to sound stupid, but hear me out. When Son, I think it was Son, scored the second goal against Chelsea at home that got ruled out. Do you remember that goal? That was my
I do
moment.
remember that goal. Okay, you're
And I
going to
tell
need a
you what.
very...
So we scored that goal and we went to arguably 2-0 up. I think it was about 2-0 offside.
Yeah.
I guess that's about 14 minutes. And we just won, I think we'd won 8 and drawn 2 of our first 10 games. And then Chelsea came and we were absolutely battering them. And I've never seen us like just overrun a team so much, so quickly. And I was like, and he scored that second goal. That was the happiest I was the whole season. I went crazy and then obviously got ruled off offside. And it's sort of been all downhill ever since. But for like pure relation, just thinking, you know, like at that moment, I'm going to be deadly honest. I thought we got a chance to win the league because we were top and just battering teams left and right. And it was just like, wow, this is crazy. And then 20 minutes later, Van der Ven gets injured. Madison gets injured. The doggy gets suspended.
It all fell apart in minutes.
And it completely fell apart. Yeah. So, yeah, that's my little off the sort of side one.
All right, Harry, your favourite moment this season?
The win against Liverpool.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what? I forgot about that. And the nature of that win was so funny. Although I
it was very good. Like, I don't know, I was there, so it was just something I'll never forget. Because I don't normally stay a lot after games, but for like 5-10 minutes, we're just going absolute ballistic.
Do you think that the referees fucked us after that game because pressures Liverpool and Klopp's dream finale? I feel like after that we just deliberately got fucked over.
I think the problem is that, and you might notice this in games in small increments or small decisions, but I think referees do kind of have a conscious or subconscious awareness of, like, say they give wrong decision earlier in the game, they'll go and try and rectify it by giving like a really
making more wrong decisions,
no crap decision against the team they gave the wrong decision. You know what I mean? So that's what I think it was more like, rather than they're going a vendetta against Tottenham, because I just think it happens to every team. But I just think because we're Spurs fans, we just see us getting decisions against us or whatever. We think, it's just us. But I think and I've told this on this podcast before, the refereeing is abysmal, and VAR has made it worse. And I think I've never seen refereeing like this, like ever in my life, as bad as this. Like ever. I'm talking something watching football as a kid. Like, this season was horrible.
Yeah.
My best moment this season, I'm going to say the 2-2 draw at the Emirates. And the reason for that is because I went into that game and there was so much talk about Arsenal at the beginning of summer and Declan Rice. And I'll hold my hands up. He's been worth every penny. And I think Arsenal, had they have won the league last year, would have thoroughly deserved it. And they played impeccably all season. They were incredible. One of the best consistent defenses we've seen in a long time. And for me, that result, I was fully expecting to go and get bad. And I thought that would be the game that would start the downfall of a bit more consistent results. And we caught Arsenal napping and we exposed the vulnerabilities they had. And I think, unfortunately, I think they got better as a result of that game and the way we exposed them. But that made me really think, we've gone to the Emirates and we've gone, fuck you. We're going to have more of the ball than you. We're going to create more chances than you. We're going to attack your team in your own ground for 90 minutes straight. And we're going to make you leave going, thank fuck, that's over. And that's the first time we've got results at the Emirates over the years. But that's the first time we've gone to the Emirates and gone, this is not your home, bitch. And for me, that was like whoa, this guy is serious. We are going to play this way for hell or high water, to death do us part. We are going to play this way no matter what. And for me, that it was really exciting, because if it does all click and it does all go right, and those 10 games of the season aren't the peak and they're the beginning, then the possibilities with this team under Ange is incredible. And I think that game made me really believe that. The rest of the season, not so much. But there we go. Dan, biggest surprise this season?
Ooh, biggest surprise. Could say Doggy, because I didn't see anything of him. I was quite shocked at how good he was. Because we talked about this already, but maybe Vicario for me, actually. I think maybe Vicario. I looked at some videos of him when we signed him, and I obviously I didn't know much about him in Italy. But I saw videos of him. I thought, he looks a bit flappy. Do you know what I mean? He looks a bit. I'm not really sure about him. But how good he's been with his feet has been incredible. That stat you said about he's not considered an error towards a goal this season. I think that's something I'm starting to take for granted with him actually, because his passing around out the back is so
It's
good.
unbelievable, isn't
Yeah,
it?
I think he's a bit sloppy with. He's not very good in the air. I don't think he commands his box very well, but I think he more than makes up for that with how we actually play and the passes around the back of the defense, because he's been incredible, to be honest.
I think for me as well, the highlight for him was when was it Neil Mopay that he was fighting with, and then he picked up the ball, went and ran around with his tongue sticking
Oh,
out.
that was Wilson,
That was
wasn't
so
it? Callum
funny.
Wilson?
That was Callum
I
Wilson.
think
Yeah.
so. Yeah, I think yeah.
Harry, for you, biggest surprise this season?
I know this is a bit weird, but the inverted fullbacks.
In
Because I don't bear in mind, I knew nothing about Ange's style. Okay, all I know it was going to be attacking, but the inverted fullbacks thing for me was just like, what? Because I think also people compared him a lot to Poch, so I thought, oh, we're going to have like really flying attacking fullbacks like on the wings sort of thing. But because they went inverted and just the style they were playing, like almost playing as like extra number 10s, I thought was a bit surprising for me. I was like, what? Yeah,
I'm
so
going to
more
say my
tactics, I guess.
yeah, okay, fair enough. I'm going to say my biggest surprise this season, and I'm fully expecting Harry to slander me for this. My biggest surprise this season is Brennan Johnson. Now, hear me out on this. He finished 5 assists off the top assist chart for the season. Don't get me wrong, there has been times where he's not been direct enough with the ball. He's almost lacked confidence, and his finishing at the back post leaves a lot to be desired. But if this is the beginning, if this is his debut season at 22 years old, 13 assists and electrifying pace, like there was it Palace we played where he nutmegged the player and then put the ball across the box, and it might have been Werner or somebody who finished at the back post. And I sit there and I think, if this is season 1 from him, there is so much more to come. And I know a lot of people seem to think he's not worth the money. And I don't know whether, so looking at you there, Harry, a lot of people aren't sure whether he'll be the consistent starter. But I think he offered more than what Spurs fans gave him credit for in the first season. But he really, really needs to learn to control the ball at the back post and not
finish.
because he just twats it. And it,
You know what the bad thing about this is?
Go on.
You know when I knew we were going to sign him, you're going to hate me for this.
Yeah.
You know when Forrest played Arsenal at the beginning of the season,
Yeah.
and he was clean through, and he missed that one-on-one. I was like, he's come to Tottenham now. I just knew it.
Is the Tottenham thing.
Especially because you know Josh Hughes. You know we met him both. David. He told me, we're talking 2 years ago maybe, that Spurs were looking at Johnson.
Yeah.
And when I kind of heard he might be on the market because of Forrest's troubles, I was like, it's probably going to happen this summer now because I mean the right was on the wall. I think. Yeah.
Harry, biggest flop or disappointment this season?
Bissouma.
Ooh, okay. I wasn't expecting that. Dan?
Well, this might shock you a little bit, but Brennan Johnson, I think.
Brilliant.
No, I think maybe I'm being a bit harsh. Actually, I think I'm probably being a bit harsh. I think Bissouma's not a bad shout.
Maybe it's a good job I made Brendan Johnson my point to that one, so then you had a chance to hear the positives for me to reconvince you.
I was thinking, do I jump in or no? But no,
go for it.
I don't like the look of him at all. I think he just looks scared on the ball. I think he's not a good enough finisher. I don't think he's got enough skill. He's got all the attributes. He's got everything in terms of like a physical ability. He's strong. He's quite quick.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that.
Yeah, but I just don't know if he's got
the technical.
It's up in his brain. I think that's a problem. I think the one thing, like, and people have made this comparison before, and I think it's probably because they're both kind of young and look similar-ish, maybe. But like, if you could implant Dele Alli's young brain into him and give him that,
he'd be unstoppable.
You know, if he really believed in himself, I think he'd be a really good player. But I'm just not sure. I think obviously, look, I'm not saying get rid of him because his numbers are okay. I think I don't know if you're into XG. Is anyone into XG here?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So, yeah. Okay. Fine. So I think his XG was, apart from Darwin Núñez, I think the worst in the Premier League this season.
Yeah.
Which is not great. Which shows you how bad his finishing is.
But it also shows that he's getting on the end of chances. And I feel like the more you get on the end of chances, you will start putting him into the back. What was the one where the ball came across and he hit it like into the roof of the net?
It's bright.
It was like really, really close. Yeah. And I think the more he gets chances like that, like I say you can't miss them, you can miss them. But I think if you're doing that in 4 different competitions over a 60-game season, you're going to score more often than you're missing, I think, eventually.
I agree with you. I think there is that old argument that is at least you're there to miss him. I completely get that. But I think it's something for this season to look at is that if he's still producing the same level of underperformance as he has this season, I think maybe start going, I'm not sure.
Not quite.
Yeah.
I think even me, who's like we're done, I guess. We're not big fans of Johnson. I think one more season I'll give him, and that's
Yeah,
it.
sure.
Because he
Yeah,
has
I'd
Premier League
agree,
experience from before from Forest, so it's not like he's daddy come from the Championship or MK Dons, whatever it is. I think he's got the experience behind him already. So
He's 23, isn't
It'd
he?
be interesting to see what his output is with a more consistent attack. We've been like you said earlier, Dan. We were very consistent at the start, and then it just fell off a cliff almost after the Chelsea game. And it didn't quite drop off a cliff, but it was game by game. It just got worse and worse and worse. I think towards the back end of the season, we did start creating a few more chances again, and it felt a bit more normal. Even though we lost to Arsenal, even though we lost to Chelsea, the performances felt a bit more normal. And I'm hoping that when we get that consistently, that he'll start having because I do want him to do well. He does seem like a really good character. I think what Harry said about confidence as well, I think is a massive thing for him. And even though his numbers were okay towards the end of the season, I still think he doesn't quite believe that he can do better than that.
the problem I see with him is that he doesn't really his chances he misses. It's like he doesn't
Yeah.
really hit them with any conviction. It's like I don't know.
It's almost like he's grateful to be there rather than knowing that he's going to score.
Yeah, pretty much. That's a good way to describe it.
My biggest flop of the season. This is going to sound really, really harsh, but I'm going to say Kulusevski. I think in moments he's been exceptional. I think he's either been exceptional or he's been very, very average. His pressing has always been consistent and his work rate's always been consistent, but he went from being someone who would misplace one pass in a game to misplacing every other pass. I do think me and Harry had this conversation a while ago with it looking like Lo Celso is going to go. I do think Kulusevski needs to play more central. He needs to be on the ball more. He needs to dictate more. His shooting from range is good. I just don't think he has the electricity needed to play on the wing in Angie's system. So I think if Lo Celso goes, him and Maddison will rotate in the middle, and I think we'll see a different player this season. But like your opinion with Brendan Johnson, I think if we see the same output from Kulusevski this season, then I'd be sitting there saying maybe he's not quite going to work for the system. Maybe we need to change it. And Harry knows I'm a massive fan of him. And halfway through the season, we had a massive argument about it, a massive debate about it. But now I just think he's worth a lot, and he'd be worth a lot to the right team. So if he isn't going to get 9 out of 10s consistently in this system as a main starter, then maybe 12 months from now we need to have another conversation.
The thing is, in Kulusevski's defence, I think under Conte he had more room to cut into the inside.
Yeah, whereas now there's fullbacks in the way, there's a striker in the way, there's two central midfielders in the way. Harry, random prediction for next season. Absolutely anything could be like anything you like.
We'll get knocked out of the FA Cup in the first round, wherever that round is.
Right, Harry, take 2. Random prediction for next year.
You said a random prediction.
Yeah, I did, but I wasn't expecting a stupid prediction. To be fair, we did get knocked out in the third round of the League Cup last year, so I can't really... Okay, is there any basis from that, or are you just trying
Tottenham,
to ruin the mood towards the end?
Just Tottenham, that's the only basis.
Lovely. Dan, for you?
I think we'll go far in the Europa League. I think we will.
Okay.
I've just got a weird feeling about it. Also, I'm kind of got a little personal thing is that the final next year is in Bilbao. The final is in Bilbao, which is where I used to live. So I'd love to go over there for the final. So let's hope they get there.
Okay. I'm going to say random prediction for next season. Ooh. See, I didn't even think about these when I came up with the questions earlier. I just wrote them down. Random prediction for next season. Timo Werner's going to get 10 goals and 10 goals in the league and 10 goals in the other competition combined. So 20 goals by himself in all competitions.
Someone clip that.
Okay.
Clip that.
Do you remember? Yeah, I know. Yeah. It'll be on. Harry, do you remember back in, was it 2016 where we sat there and said if Lamela didn't get 15 goal contributions in that season, then we'd sell him. And was it 4 years later he finally went, and we sat there and we went, do you remember that conversation we had? He went, yeah, what the fuck were we thinking? It was never going to happen. And then the last one then, Dan, dream signing for the summer. Ooh. Don't say Mbappe, he's already gone to Madrid. Fabrizio Romano's tweeted about 1,500 goals.
I tell you what, then it's one that I don't think will happen for numerous reasons, but the kid from Athletic Club Bilbao, Nico Williams. I think he's
Oh,
20.
yeah, we've been linked with him. Haven't we?
Yeah, we've been
I
linked with
think
him. Yeah,
so.
he's 22.
Doesn't
I
he
think.
want like 300 grand a week?
I think he gets paid a lot of money in Bilbao because they make so much money because they only sell players, they can't buy them because they only taking kids from the youth
Because
system.
that's their policy, is just kids from the youth academy.
So their only way of keeping these players, because it's not like they can just do a bit of trading and sell someone off and bring someone else in. They have to basically train another kid up for it. It's basically just giving them lots of money. But I mean, to be honest, we should be paying 250 grand a week. The amount that we all spend on ticket prices, which is probably another debate for another day. But
Yes.
this club makes an absolute mint. We shouldn't be put off by 250 grand for a player at 22 years old who is going to get better and better and better. I don't think it will happen, but I think he would be my dream signing. Yeah.
Okay, Harry, dream signing.
Isaac.
Yeah, I knew.
Oh
you'd say
yeah,
that.
that's a fair shout. Yeah.
I think it speaks for itself, really. The kind of player he's grown into this season, I think, is exactly what we need.
Oh, he's amazing.
I think the guy is ready to be like the best striker in the league. Honestly,
100%.
In a year or two.
I think so. Yeah. Dream signing. Ooh.
Werner on a permanent.
Fuck off. I'm going to start a Werner fan club now. Just to debate you.
I'll bring up Werner out banners to the
I'll
streets.
crop a photo of you smiling next to Werner and go, Werner's number one fan, and then tag him in it until you block me. This is going to be a really difficult one because I think he's destined to go to Arsenal, but I'm going to say Bruno Guimaraes. I think him in that midfield, the quality of his passing, his athleticism, he's not the quickest player, but I think him alongside Sarr and Bentancur or Sarr and Maddison, I think he'd add so much quality and so much creativity to that midfield. And I have no clue what the fuck we're going to do with our attack. We need to do something, but I have no clue what the fuck we're going to do with it.
I think Eze's probably going to happen, though.
Do you reckon?
So Harry, did you bang your head on the way in, or did you drink too much, or
no? I think it's probably.
What makes you think Eze's going to? Apparently, he's got a release clause.
There's that, but also I think as we saw after the Palace games and that sort of thing, and also he's part of the same agency or something. Yeah. So there's a lot of things pointing towards it. He's also homegrown, so
it's funny because when Dan said earlier about he thinks that we'll take the Europa League the same way Poch did. Do you know what it reminded me of? Do you remember when we went away to Dortmund the year that they played Liverpool in that massive last minute winner game, and he played Josh Onuma and Tom Carroll. We got absolutely trampled on. Yeah. It was unreal. We were like, if we beat Dortmund, we can get through to the final. We got back by Dortmund.
That was a Leicester season, wasn't it?
Yeah. That was Leicester season, yeah.
Yeah, because the year after we were in the Champions League because we competed with Chelsea for the title and we had Monaco, CSK, and Moscow and some other dead club and we still got knocked out. Then went to Ghent at Wembley and lost to them as well. Mm-hmm. I was actually in a hotel in London at the time when we lost again, and I could hear
Dele Alli
Wembley.
got sent off, right? Didn't he? Did Dele Alli get sent off?
Yes. Just
because I remember I was in the crowd and where I was sitting at Wembley, I was right in front of it. So when it happened, I was going.
I would not have wanted to be sat next to you. I'm so glad for all the games we've been together, or whatever. I'm glad that I've never been next to you when there's been a red card because you'd just be insufferable. No, I've known you for a long time, but I couldn't deal with that.
Because everyone's this was like, why the fuck did he do that? What was he thinking?
Last prediction for next season, then Harry, where do you think we'll finish? And if any, what do you think we'll win? Fourth.
And I think we'll make. Like I said what I said earlier, we'll knock out the FA Cup quite early. I think we'll make the semi-finals of the Carling Cup and the quarterfinals of the Europa League.
Dan,
I think we'll finish fifth again. I expect.
Okay.
Around that point, I think 4 to 6 is your par, isn't it? I think so. Let's go bang in the middle, fifth.
Anything we'll pick up along the way?
Probably not.
That's okay. I'm gonna say unpopular opinion. I think we'll finish 7th, but win the Europa League.
Oh, you take that now, wouldn't you?
I'll take that.
I'd take that as well. Yeah, that almost sounds too good to be true.
Yeah.
Dan, again, thank you so much for taking the time. Honestly, it's been amazing. Like I say, it's been a 3-year long conversation of loving it. And if it hadn't been for, I don't know, if it hadn't been for me tweeting you saying, look, I've got loads of people messaging me going, is he doing a review this year? When's it coming out? And then you following me and replying, we might not have been sat here. So I just want to say thank you so much.
No worries at all. Hopefully next season, Spurs will have a good one, and then I'll make a video. And if I do, then I'll come in and we can watch it together.
A lot more cheery.
Lovely,
A lot
that'd
more
be brilliant.
cheery.
That'd be brilliant.
Yeah.
Harry, obviously this is the. I know we started it towards the back of the season, but it's been a great first season recording. We both loved it. The Guess Who was brilliant, and we've got a few more gamey ones lined up for next season.
Yeah, this podcast meant to be more chilled compared to the other content.
So for some context, Dan, so we did it's might have been about 2 months back now. We did like a Guess Who. So we picked a player from Redknapp era onwards and then did yes or no questions to who guessed it first.
Good.
And the first one, I think it took me, 4 questions, Harry, and he picked Benoit Asselicoto. And he went, shit, I'm going to get fucking annihilated. And in the end, you know what? It was so much fun. And we were doing it for about an hour and it was so much fun. And people
and the
watching
kits
it,
one was good as well.
The kits one, we ranked every kit from 1990 to current, and any kit that had any bit of yellow on it, Harry was like, "No, get in the fucking bin, get in the fucking bin." It was brilliant. A lot of editing. It took me about 4 hours to edit that video. But trying to think how. So I'm guessing, Dan, you can confirm that we've not got a season review coming this season.
Not this year. There was one. I've got all the footage, and I pretty much started making one up until about February, and then the end of the season was so bad that I just thought, nah. What can I make out of it?
Fair enough. One question quickly. What's your favourite season review that you've made? Because for me, the 16-17 one makes me cry every time I watch it. The music, what was it? The line where it goes, Tottenham's hearts remain at the lane, but their European journey starts at Wembley. On it just gets me every time.
There's a really good one from that. The best shot of that, actually, the most emotional one is the end where the rainbow comes into the
yes.
Oh yeah.
That's a bit of a one.
Yeah, incredible.
I think my favourite one I made was probably the year after that, the one where Dele Alli. I think it was the year after that. One where Dele Alli scored at Chelsea.
Yes, that was
when we won at Chelsea.
Yeah,
the first time in
was that the 2-0 where he kind of lofted it above?
That was
Caballero, was it?
That was 16-17, but this one was at Stamford Bridge. We beat him.
Ericsson scored.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Well. Yes, yeah.
I don't know why that season I really liked, because it wasn't actually that. Like, we didn't actually do fabulous. I mean, it would be now. It would be one of the best seasons we've ever had. But at the time, fourth. I think we finished third. but like sort of scraped into third. And it didn't really feel that great.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
But yeah, that video. To be honest, the Champions League run one, the 18-19 one is. I liked making that too, but I'd made it all. This is the sad thing, right? I'll give you the inside here. I'd made it all, prior to Madrid, and I went, right, it's ready, it's done. Whatever I add on to the end, I add on to the end, and I wish I just released it before the Madrid final and just ended it on that Lucas Moura goal, because, the last 20 seconds are just.
I think. Did you do back in the day like a Van der Vaart video?
Yeah, I did loads. Yeah, I did Bale one.
Because that's the one I think I discovered you on.
Yeah,
obviously he loves. David knows how much I love Van der Vaart.
we the amount of times we just sit and have chats. We're talking about something and we go onto a tangent. We did a debate in our favourite Premier League 11, and I think the segment for midfield was about 20 minutes, and 7 minutes of that was just Van der Vaart.
Yeah.
So if, Raphael, mate, if you're watching this, tell your wife.
Maybe
the
give
weather's
it up
better now.
Like
Come home.
It has like background music saying "Baby, give it up."
That's right. Yeah, with his chant.
Yeah, that's when I remember. I used to watch that so much on repeat.
This is like a proper fan moment for both of us here. So Harry's just fangirling his way now, guys.
There was. I've had Toby Alderweireld retweeted one of my videos. Peter Crouch did one of him. So
Crouch, I love Crouch.
Yeah. A few of them have seen it. I quite like to think that maybe one of the videos went round on their WhatsApp group, but I don't know.
Yeah, imagine that. Oh, this is nice.
Could you imagine? How come you don't? Question for you, because I don't know if you're on TikTok. How come you haven't uploaded like highlights of? Because I know from uploading that TikTok, so we always go on a tangent at the end. I mean, Harry always do this. So for those guys that don't know, I uploaded a TikTok about 3 months ago-ish, maybe about that, maybe a bit less than that. And it was like normal people at 3 a.m. and it was just someone starfished on their bed snoring their head off. And when you swipe over, it was me watching this at repeat at 3 a.m. And it was a 16-17 Yidvids video. And the amount of message I had, oh my God, do you know him? Do you know if he's uploading a video this season? And then I tweeted you it, and then you followed me and you replied, the footage is there, we will see. That was it. And then obviously I messaged you and we got talking and stuff, which has led to this. But have you ever thought about uploading some clips from your old videos and stuff on there, get people re-excited again?
I have, yeah, but obviously, time goes on. I'm a bit older now. I've got my own web design business, so that's sort of taken up all my time. I wish I had the same amount of time I used to have to make them all, because I loved making them. But yeah, I have thought about it, but maybe one day, yeah. Maybe I'll send you some clips
one day
for me.
Maybe we'll get a video.
Yeah, for now, I'll keep posting reminders every 6 months. Go, guys, he is still alive. Don't worry about it.
But did you do a lot was it during like the 2010s you started?
Yeah, because
08, 09?
Yeah, the first one I made was 10-11. So yeah,
that's probably yeah.
That was the Champions League season. So that's 13 years ago, maybe. Yeah, 13 years ago.
Jesus Christ.
And you did it for about 10 years, I guess, right?
Yeah, the last one I've only made one since 2019. So I made one every season since 2019, and then stopped during Jose and.
It's a bit more depressing football.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
For you though, how does like? All right, I'm not blowing smoke up your arse here now, but how do you feel that like there's a large amount of Spurs fans that will hear certain songs that you've edited as part of your videos, and they will think of you and what you created and the reminder you've given? Because if someone says to me now, like, how would you recite the 16-17 season? 90% of it would be what I watched in the video, and the same thing for other seasons, and that will be that way for thousands of Spurs fans. So for you, does it almost like a little bit of like, whoa, this is a little bit?
It's
Do
cool.
you ever sit there and think, what the fuck, almost, or like, why are they watching my videos, or is it very much a case of I put it out there, if people enjoy it, they do, and if they don't?
So I don't really think about it so much, but what I do think is that the day I upload it, usually the day when I post it on Twitter, like my mentions go ridiculous. I get like it's the closest I've ever come to like feeling like, I don't know, Kylie Jenner on Twitter or someone who, it's crazy.
Kylie Jenner.
I don't know. I'm just trying to think of someone with a lot of followers. I have no idea. But so that's the only day I ever think, some of the messages I get are just ridiculously nice. Like, wow, this is amazing. This one made me cry, whatever, goosebumps, etc., etc. And that means it to me. But yeah,
sorry.
I don't think too much.
But for anyone watching this, when you finish watching this, because this will go out on Friday, for anyone finish watching this, go and watch, sit there in your bed before you go to sleep, watch the 16-17 and 17-18, have a little cry. We all do it. And yeah, it's amazing. So for those of you guys that don't know, because I half tweeted it the other day and then obviously we had to delay stuff and whatever, this is the last one for this season. Me and Harry are going to pick this up again after the Euros. So there's a bit of transfer business. We can talk about the Euros, etc. There's going to be a complete redesign for season 2. So bear with me on that because I haven't started it. Me and Harry will sit at some point before he goes on holiday, brainstorm a few ideas for how we're going to look. And season 2 will also be released on Spotify as well. We will record it on a Tuesday night, as we always do, and it will go out on a Thursday evening. And that will be the consistent schedule going forward for season 2. I know this season's been very inconsistent at times. The shirt video took me 4 hours straight of editing. And the other ones with more graphics have required more. For those people that want to come on, because I've had a lot of messages, DM me on Twitter. My Twitter and all those links and all that crap is in the description.
As well.
Or message Harry.
That's easier, yeah.
Either or. We record at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday night, so it's consistent every week, unless we go to a Tuesday game, at which point we miss that week and just go and sit.
Obviously, because in Europa League, I think we'll probably be right.
Yeah, it probably won't be Tuesdays. It'll probably be Thursdays, so it works out all right. The other thing quickly as well, so for those of you guys that know, the new shirt has finally been released. Worst kept secret in the history of whatever. The giveaway for that Tottenham shirt is still going on. The link to the TikTok will be in the description. It's free. And if you're already subscribed and you're already looking at my ugly mush now, then you're already 75% of the way there. So go like the video, go repost the video, sub to the channel. Job done. By the way, the club shirts are extortionate. We're not going to go on a rant on that because me and Harry will do that on. I think I've already seen Harry do that on Twitter. But just
125 quid for elite shirt, 100 quid for.
If you buy an elite shirt, you're a mug. By the way, you just no, unless you play football professionally. Which
the last time I actually bought a shirt myself was like we're talking. The last year of the lane, probably.
Yeah, it must have been
that's like 8 years ago, something like that.
Yeah. Harry's a proper stinge bag when it comes to buying shirts. And here's me.
No, this is the reason why I don't.
Yeah, well, we'll save that for next season. Thank you guys so much. Like I say, thank you, Dan, for coming on. Thank you guys so much. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and as always, come on, you Spurs.
Come on,
see you for next season.